You can tell, you can see that my office is starting to come together. It is really exciting to have my own place where I can work, where I can shut the door and not have to worry about anyone coming in and out of the house. I have teenagers and they do like to have friends over. It's lovely to be able to just close the door and not have to worry about that. Tonight I wanted to talk a few minutes about when not to work with a client. Now, I am very much an advocate for my clients. I like my clients. I like to work with people I like. That's usually the very first thing. If I like someone, I'm very, very inclined to work with them. And I apologize, my eye is tearing a little bit. I made the mistake of sleeping in my contacts, and I'm paying the price today. So I really should know better by now. I've been wearing contacts for many, many years, so you'd think that I'd know better than to sleep in them. But I'm stubborn and hard-headed. You'd think I know better than to nail, too. Oh, I am so sorry. Cough, cough, cough. So, when do you choose to work with a client, and when do you choose out of working with a client is kind of the subject tonight. I have a client that I worked with very, very briefly, and I mean for a week. He does not fit my business model at all. And he is the type of person that calls at 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. I don't take business calls after 6 o'clock at night. And if someone calls me and leaves a voicemail after that time, I run my business from my personal cell phone. So calling late at night is an immediate turnoff to me. That tells me right then that's someone that does not value my time. I value my clients' time, so I will actually put reminders on my phone that I need to call at 10 o'clock in the morning or whenever works for my client. I do not ever, ever call a client after 6 p.m. ever. I mean, if we're talking a few minutes one way or the other, it's one thing, but this gentleman called at 10:30 at night. That is absolutely unacceptable. Even on a personal level, unless you are my best friend, and I have, Michael can call me late at night, my kids can call me late at night, my ex-husband can probably call me, because if he calls me late at night, I assume it's an emergency. This is my Fabian can call me late at night because he doesn't ever call me late at night, so I always assume if he calls late it's an emergency, and he does call me if he needs help occasionally. My parents obviously can, my siblings can, but will not, because they know me better than anybody else in the world, and they know that they know better than to call me late or early, Daniel. So I was raised, back when the phone was attached to the wall, and I remember my mom just coming unglued because I wanted to call one of my high school friends or junior high friends. I don't even remember where we were at the time. After 9 o'clock at night, and she freaked. She said, "You don't call anybody before 9 a.m. or after 9 p.m. It's rude." And it sounds a little bit harsh. We now live in a world where we're completely interconnected. Everybody has their cell phones on them. We sleep with our cell phones by our heads half the time. It's always on. The ringer's always on. We have to remind people to turn them off in the theater. We're kind of attached to our phones. And I am the old-fashioned kind of, you don't call me after 9 p.m. unless it's an emergency. However, I am an accountant. There's never an emergency. There is failure to prepare, which is not my emergency. So if you wouldn't call your lawyer or the president of the company after 6 o'clock, you should not also be calling your accountant after 6. So when he called late at night, like you said, between 6 and 7, I'll kind of give it a little bit of, well, maybe they just lost track of time. But at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, that's an instant no-go for me. Also, I chose not to respond to him. We don't have a contractual agreement that we will do anything other than week to week. I get to choose if I'm going to work with this guy. He also gets to make that choice, but he seems to forget that I also have the choice, and so he's kind of hounding me calling, texting, emailing, where did you get my email, voicemail? Yes, I did. I don't want to work with you. And I don't want to work with him because he has called me late at night multiple times. Now, like I said, I am a solopreneur right now. I am getting ready to hire a bookkeeper, but I am the company. This is it. This is me. I also am a single mother. I also go to school. I also, have a personal life. I like to go out to the movies. I like to spend time with my closest friends. Some of them are on the East Coast getting hammered by the snowstorm right now. But, I like to spend time with people, and I like to have time that's not work time. So when someone calls late at night or very early in the morning without an appointment, my office hours are posted everywhere. I mean, I tell people all the time, I work from 10 to 5. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I also, at 5, I stop, I work out, I cook dinner, and I start working at school. So I work a lot of hours. And I have a lot of my time is already scheduled. So I don't have, I'm very careful about making sure that everybody knows what my office hours are. They are 10 to 5, Monday through Friday, Mountain Standard Time, or Mountain Time. That goes out on all of my emails. When I welcome a new client, I tell them what my office hours are so they know what to expect. I tell them how quickly they should expect to receive a return from me. If they email me, they should expect me to return that within 1 business day. Occasionally I'll forget, but I always, get to it pretty quickly. But when it's a new client that I've maybe worked with once before, 3 months ago, I did not have a good experience. It was not pleasant for me. It was not pleasant at all for me. And I want my experiences with my clients to be pleasant. I don't mind being firm, but I do mind having to be very testy. I don't like being testy. I don't like being unpleasant in any way. I like to have the client have a good experience, but I also have to have a good experience or I don't want to work with the client. And, this all sounds really harsh, but it's simple professionalism. If you would not want your boss, calling you late at night, you don't call the people that work with you. That kind of goes that way. And also the other thing I found with this particular person is he didn't want to pay my fee. And he would kind of backtrack and say, oh, well, I didn't understand. And I'd be like, well, I spelled that out pretty clearly. Maybe he didn't understand, but he was pretty difficult to work with as far as my fee. He made it very clear that he expected me to charge about $10 an hour. That's about 1/10 of what I actually charge. I have clients now that are getting bargain basement prices of $25 and $30 an hour. When I'm really cranking, I make $100 to $200 an hour, and I'm worth it. I like to try to keep the prices for my clients small, but that doesn't mean that I'm spending a lot of time on those low ticket clients. They're still getting the same quality of work. But if I'm pricing someone at $24.95 a week, it's because I know I can do this in 15 minutes. I mean, I already know I can do this in 15 minutes. And if it takes me longer, big deal, who cares? But like I said, it's the same quality of work no matter what the customer is paying. But there's a certain amount I can look at the client and go, okay, this is a small client, so I can do their work in a few minutes a week. This is a big client, they're going to take hours, I'm going to charge them more. And that's just good business sense. So he was quibbling about my fee, and I just went, I don't want to work with someone that complains about my pricing. If I were to work with him again, I would charge him $200 just to do what he's wanting to do. I really think he could get some kid from the high school to do it. But he made it very clear he didn't value what I was doing, and that's not someone that I want to work with. The people that I want to work with, my ideal clients, see the value. I talked to him about it. Oh, excuse me. One more? Going once? Okay, I don't think I'm going to sneeze again. Sorry about that. That my ideal clients see the value. They see, I talk to them about, I'm going to talk to you quarterly about what you're seeing in your reports. I hound them every week, and I tell them, you're going to get an email from me every Monday at 10. And if you're supposed to be sending me information, I'm going to email you about that every Monday at 10. So just plan to get that information to you, because I'm going to charge you anyway. Why do I do that? Well, because it creates a sense of urgency for the client. I'm just very, very upfront with things. And so the people that I work with see the value. They already understand that I'm working hard to get my degree so that I can charge more. I'm working hard to get my degree so I can create more value. I am not just someone to sit and do a little bit of data entry. That's not what they're paying me for. That's not what anybody's paying me for. They're paying me to understand their business and to give them good advice about their business and make sure they have the information at their fingertips. This guy just wants a little bit of data entry done, and I don't want to work with him. Well, having been very negative at the beginning, let's end on a positive note. When do you want to work with a client? Well, you need to sit down and kind of think about what your ideal client looks like. My ideal client looks at accounting as something that's possibly a necessary evil, but certainly something that's important that needs to be done. They see it as a money-saving investment. That even though they're spending more money right now, it will come back to them in the long run. They'll be able to see what's going on with their business. They'll be able to see how things are going in their business. They'll be able to make decisions based on their liabilities and their expenses, which are two different things. They're going to be able to see and review their reports with me and be able to see how well things are actually going. The ideal client for me understands that there's value in that. They're not looking to have a data entry clerk. They can hire a data entry clerk for $7.25 an hour. They're looking to have an expert look at their books, review their books, make sure everything is entered correctly, and coach them with their business. That's what they're looking for. This is not something that and I do this on a weekly basis. So if someone doesn't want to be with me every single week for years, they're not my ideal client. If they're not willing to let me earn their business every week, they're not my ideal client. I have a few clients that will contact me at the beginning of the year that I absolutely love, and I do this because I love these clients, that I will kind of wait for them, at the beginning of the year. I know how much work it takes to get their stuff together because they are they're on the system with another entity, or they're already, there's value in it to me to provide this work for them. You can usually pay me a little bit extra, but it's valuable to me to make them happy. This guy, there's no value there. There's no reciprocation. There's no nothing. There's no reason for me to continue to work with him. The only reason I worked with him to start with was because I thought he was going to be a weekly ongoing client, and he wasn't. He was never going to be. So if you're looking for a bookkeeper, make sure that you fit in their business model. Make sure that you understand what's expected of you, because there will be expectations of you. Make sure your bookkeeper understands what you expect of her, and make sure that you value what she's actually doing. Because if you're paying her $25 an hour to do a $10 what you perceive as a $10 an hour job, you're not going to appreciate what she's doing. If you look at what she's doing and you see that there's value in there, more than just the hourly investment that she's putting in, you're going to be more willing to pay for it. It's just like attorneys. You want the top dollar attorney because he's won cases that make him worth the money. Or doctors, you want the high-end, expensive, I can turn you down because I don't need the work. Those are the doctors you want, because they are so good at their jobs that they can turn people away. You want the pioneers. You want the ones that are really amazing at their jobs. When they're amazing at their jobs, they charge top dollar. Why? Because they can get it, and because they're worth it. So if you're not paying, if you're thinking $10 and this is done, you're not a good fit for me. You might be a good fit for someone else, but you're not a good fit for me. And I have no hard feelings about it. I want my clients to be ones that actually fit my business, that I'm a good fit for them and they're a good fit for me. That's what I'm looking for. And I realize that when I talk about how much I can make in an hour, it sounds really high. I do make good money. I don't make $100 an hour every hour. I wish I did. But I also don't work every single hour that's available. I always have the feeling that, you know, when I do these videos about this is not what you want to be when you're talking to your bookkeeper, I'm afraid I come across as really harsh, and that's not my intention. My intention is to try to teach people a little bit about professionalism, about if you have someone that's turning down work with you, this could be why. You know, if you're hiring someone, you don't want them to be a flake. If you're working with someone, you don't want them to be a flake. And that goes on the other side. If I'm doing the work, I don't want flaky clients. But I do treasure the ones that I have that are solid clients that I enjoy my relationship with and that I just enjoy spending time with. Some of my clients are the kind of people I would go out and just have lunch with just for fun because they're just fun people. I count them as friends. And so those are the ones I really treasure. The ones that I feel like are using me, and there's always a few. There's not very many, thank goodness. But there's always one or two that will come on and I really have the sense that they're trying to use me. Those are the ones I don't want to work with. But I am a fan of, you know, information is power. So if you don't understand why someone doesn't want to work with you, maybe these are some of the things that you could look at. How are you treating them? And if the shoe was on the other foot, how would you feel about it? Would you want to work with someone like you? It's going to be it for tonight. I hope you have a wonderful evening. If you are back east facing the snowstorms, please stay safe. Stay safe. Oh my gosh, I swear I can talk. And I will look forward to talking to you again soon.